So, my friends, welcome to our ninth session for today. This session is going to be conducted by Mr. Philippe Rigo from Belgium. Philippe is one of the Viniyoga teacher trainers in Belgium, and also he is a Viniyoga therapist, and he is also a Vedic chanting teacher. He and Jojo are classmates in the advanced Vedic chanting training, along with Deb Robertson as well. She's also part of that group. Philip lives in Belgium, and he has also been studying yoga for a long time since he was 18 through his mother, Paul, who is also a wonderful chanting teacher in our tradition. And Philip has also met my father, studied with my father as well. And he was also one of the three people who were with me when my father breathed his last. So we're very happy to have him here today. His topic is going to be a lecture on the Viniyoga tradition, its sacred history and relevance in the future. Let us give it back to Philip now. Philip, so you can start, sir, whenever you are ready. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Namaste, Kausthub. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will put it like that. Thank you so much for inviting me and asking me to speak about this fantastic subject. So I will share my screen and we will start now. Okay. So can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So the history of Viniyoga. So first of all, I want to say that Viniyoga is not something very shallow because it's deeply rooted in the Bharata culture. So it means that it's very, very old. It's like it's coming back to the core of India itself with the Vedas. It is very, very deeply rooted in the tradition because when you see some very old rituals, they use the word of Viniyoga. So it's not something that has been invented like 20 years ago to market the tradition. It's a very, very old tradition. And Viniyoga is not at all a word that is a marketing word. It's very something that is full of light. That's why I wrote here Vaidika, which means that it's coming. It is rooted in the Vedas, which are some of the oldest texts in India, even maybe in the world. We don't know. And Vedas are all about light. I mean, a true light, some real light, some spiritual light that as sincere seekers we have to look for and eventually to find. And when we define Viniyoga, we often use this sentence, which is Visheshena Nitaram Yogaha, which means that we are Viniyoga. It's a way to connect in a special manner to us all the time. And I think that this presentation will give some explanation to this, that you will see this sentence a bit differently. So the first one was brought the Yoga Rahasya, which Yoga Rahasya is about Viniyoga. I hope you will read it, that there is a very good, there is an amazing translation and explanation on this on the KHYF website that you can order, which is quite very easy to read, and this teaching are very accessible. The first one is called Namalvar, or we say Shatakopa in Sanskrit. First of all, it's very relevant in this tradition because I remember that Sir, that we honor today, was very keen to make us chant this following mantra: Om Namo Shatakopaya Shatakopaya Namaha. So he was very keen to asking us to chant this. So even though we didn't know who was actually Shatakopa, but we were chanting for him. So it's a very special boy. His name is Shatakopa because Kopa means kind of anger, and Shata it is believed to be the wind that will erase all our memories from the past life. So when he came back to life, he was not crying. He didn't crave for food. He was just like in a meditation. And their parents made a dream, and actually they left him near of a tamarind tree, which is situated in the southeast of India, where he stayed for about 16 years in meditation. Actually, there is a sage who found him, because this sage was coming from the north of India, and he saw a very beautiful light that was guiding us from the sky until he found Shatakopa, who himself was full of light, and he was fully in meditation. And the name of this sage who found Shatakopa his name was Madhurakavi, the poet which is full of sweet. Madhura is like honey, it's something which is sweet. And he tried to distract Namalvar from his meditation. And actually, he could not distract him, even though he was throwing some stone and some things like that. But he asked him a very philosophical question, and then Namalvar answered the question, and he knew that he found his master. And actually, he's the first Acharya. If you see on internet, they will say that he was born like 3,000 years before our era, which we don't really know, but it's very old. Yes, so all the tradition on Vishnu, on Vaishnavism, are coming back from him, at least in the south of India, because he composed some 4,000 verses or maybe more on which are called Divya Prabandham, that you can see here. And in these verses, he actually described some other gods who are nearby and that he never visited. So the god actually visited him in his meditation, in his dream, we don't know, and he actually described all the gods that came to visit him. So because he's very special for all this, we say that he's the first Acharya, but that his nature is quite divine. He is located in a place which is nowadays called Alvar Tirunagari. And this is a place which is very important for a sage, which is Näthamuni, and for Krishnamacharya, and nowadays for us. You will see that a little bit later. This is a place where there are some temples who are very special for us that are called Navagraha temple. And Navagraha is about some planets, so the temples are designed about regarding the energy of the planets with the deities that are inside. It's a very healing place. And what is maybe the most important for us is that actually he came with the concept of prapatti, or maybe we can say also bhakti, which is a concept that we have to surrender ourselves to a higher will, whoever it is. In the case of Shatakopa, it's surely Vishnu or Narayana. But these last years, I always wonder what was the signification of bhakti, or what was the signification of prapatti. And my own answer, I don't know if it's true, is that prapatti or bhakti, it's love. Because when we love something, we actually reduce our ego and we make things easily. And when we do things out of love, what we do doesn't look so difficult for us. But when we do something without love, it looks very difficult for us to act. So for me, I understand this as a very big love, not only for the divine, but also for the nature, for human being, and all this. But this is my interpretation. So the second Acharya is called Näthamuni, and it's very interesting because the Divya Prabandham that we just spoke before were lost, and only 10 verses were remaining. And Näthamuni was not living near of Namalvar's place, but he accidentally he heard some of the chanting because 10 verses were remaining of the Divya Prabandham, and he was struck by the beauty of these verses. And suddenly he asked the pilgrim who were chanting, from where is coming these verses? And they said that it is what remains from the Divya Prabandham. Then Näthamuni traveled a lot, few hundreds kilometers, which was not easy at this time because there was no car, there was no plane, nothing. And he went to the tamarind tree where Namalvar was, where Shatakopa was, and there he met an ancestor of somebody from the lineage of Madhurakavi, the one who found Shatakopa, and this man taught him some verses to recite. So Näthamuni learned it, then he went near of the tree, and he began to recite what he learned for 12,000 times, and suddenly he saw Shatakopa, who appeared to him and who taught him all the verses of the Divya Prabandham. So it is said also that he received the Yoga Rahasya at this time, which is so important for our tradition because it's about Viniyoga. And so actually he revived the tradition. He received the Yoga Rahasya. He also composed another very important text, which is called Nyaya Tattva. What I want to say now about the Yoga Rahasya is that it's a very important book because it speaks about Chikitsa, which is the yoga therapy. There are not so many books who speak about that. Nowadays, at least, it's very difficult to find a very good book about that, but he speaks about that. He put a lot of emphasis on Garbhini, which is a lady, a woman which is pregnant, because a lot of care has to be given to such a lady. And also he speaks about one full chapter only on Grihini, which means the woman. So for them in this tradition, women are so important because at this time, it is considered that women could not practice yoga so much, but he was such a reformer, he was such an amazing spiritual man that he said, no, actually, this chapter is much more convenient for women than for men. So I invite you to read it. It's very, very interesting to read it. Also, often in the Viniyoga tradition, people don't understand why we breathe in asana, because if you read Hatha Yoga Pradipika, for instance, they speak about asana and then only they speak about the breath and then only they speak about mudras. But actually there, if you go in the second chapter, in the 28th verse, you can see that it is really much said that you have to combine asana and pranayama, the breathing and the asana in the same time. So please go and check this book. It's a very good one. There is some connection with Krishnamacharya as well, because, and I will come back to this later, but after Näthamuni, sometimes after, the Yoga Rahasya was lost, and actually Krishnamacharya revived it. But we will come to this a bit later. Yeah. So the next one, the next Acharya, you can see the beautiful painting. In this painting are coming from a painting which is in the room of the KHYF where you can practice. So it's very nice to go there. It's very touching to go there and to practice there with all these pictures who are watching to us. And the next one is called Śri Yamunācārya, Yamuna, and he was actually the grandson of Näthamuni. He is the author of a very, very beautiful text, which is very interesting, which is called Gītartha Sangraha. It's a summary, sangraha, of the meaning, artha, of the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita. And there is one very profound idea that I want to share about this, because it's so different from the modern way of thinking, which is that first of all, you have to act. Karma is the first step towards wisdom. The first thing you have to do, firstly, you have to act. Don't think too much, just act. Do your best, of course. Don't control too much the consequences, please, but just act, do something. Then when you will have acted a lot, after some time, you will have some knowledge about life, about how to act, how to do. The knowledge will come only after you did something. The knowledge is not coming before you do something. Okay? Then only when you have gained quite some knowledge, you can begin to detach yourself. Okay, which is so important. This is something that we forget so much, or that I forget so much, that I always remember myself. And then after that we detach, what is possible is to have bhakti. Bhakti, which is the highest love, maybe, let's put it like that, and which is what will actually lead us to freedom, maybe, one day. And so it's very interesting that firstly you have action, then knowledge, then detachment, then love. Actually, this man was so great that he became a king because he defeated a very good scholar in a debate. Actually, at this time there was a lot of debate, so he became a king. He is the man who found Yamunācārya, which is the next one, and who made who brought so much light to this tradition, who was so influential. And there is a story that I really want to share with you, is that actually when he died, he requested somebody to find Ramanuja because he wanted to instruct Ramanuja about his own work. And actually, when Ramanuja came, Yamuna died. He was already dead. But he was dead with 3 fingers like that. And when they realized actually that these 3 fingers, the meaning of these 3 fingers was, you have to make a commentary on the Vishnu Purana, you have to make a commentary on the Divya Prabandham, and you have to make a commentary on the Brahma Sutra. When Ramanuja realized that, the finger just came back to normal, which is for me so important, because it is said that, for me, it means that the teaching is more important than life and death. Sometimes the teachings can actually overcome death, and we will come back to this a little bit later. And there is a very beautiful verse that I want to chant for you, if I succeed to salute him. It's Om Namo Namo Yamunaya, Yamunaya Namo Namaha. Okay, so beautiful. But I am sorry if I don't do it so well, because I am not so used of this type of teaching. So the next one is Sri Ramanuja, who was so influential in spreading the Visishta Advaita tradition, so the tradition of Namalvar. He was such a social reformer because he decided that what is called untouchable could actually go into the temple at least one day a year, which was quite a revolution in the mentality of this time, because he was allowing access to everybody. And there also it's very important, because we have to remind ourselves that in yoga everybody has the same light inside. There is not one people whose the light is not good. Everybody has the same light. Yes, we are different on the matter. We have a different mind, different bodies, different culture, different core belief, etc. But we are all equal, because we all have this beautiful light inside. Okay. So actually, he commented the Bhagavad Gita as well, that you can read. It's available freely in internet. He commented Vishnu Purana, Brahma Sutra, Divya Prabandham, He brought so much light into the tradition, and he revived the Bodhayana Sutra. So it is said that he brought the old way of thinking about God, because this has been mixed, and he revived it in a pure way. Let's put it like that. Okay, then we have another man that you heard a lot without knowing it was him, because when we chant Shri Nut Narangendra Yatau Samarpitasvam, when we honor Krishnamacharya, it's about this man that we honor, because Krishnamacharya didn't want to be honored himself. He wanted to honor his own teacher, and he was one of the teachers. He's called Sri Ranganatha Brahma Swatantra Parakala Swami. In Mysore, which is an institution that has been put in place by Vedānta Desika. Oh, Vedānta Desika is missing, sorry. So we will come back to him after I put 2 clicks. So the next one is so important, it's called Śri Vedānta Deśika. He is considered to be the bell of God, because he composed so many poetries, so many chants, so many treatises, so many philosophy about Vishnu, about Sudarshana, about so many deities, that he was considered the bell of God. Actually, his mother dreamed that she was swallowing a bell when she was pregnant, and they knew that their son would be a very, very special one. So he actually meditated during decades in a place which is called Tiruvahindapuram. It is in the southeast of India, on the top of a hill. And it's very important what happened there, because he was meditating a lot on Garuda, which is the eagle. And the eagle came to him directly, and he taught him a very secret mantra on Hayagriva, which is the god horse, which is the god, actually, I think, of Krishnamacharya. So it's something, it's not nothing, it's really something. And he actually practiced a lot about on Hayagriva, and he actually met Hayagriva with this practice, and he built the first Hayagriva temple in the world. So it's something, really it's something. He composed so many stotras like Sudarshanashtakam. I think you all heard about this. It's Jaya Jaya Shri Sudarshana. And it's very interesting to say that it was in a time of plague, and he did that to help people to heal from the plague. So if there is some chant that you can listen nowadays, I advise you to listen to some chant of this man in the Corona time. He composed things like Shri Stuti, which the story is so amazing. Vairagya Panchakam that he composed because he was invited to become the court poet so that he could have a lot of money, because he was very poor, and he composed this saying that he could not have two masters, the king and Narayana, so he chose to be only the servant of Narayana. He composed something which is called Rahasya Trayasaram, which is philosophy about the consciousness, the matter, and Ishvara, the God. In one night, he also composed the Paduka Sahasram. It's 1008 verse on the feet of God, which is amazing. He is called the lion among the poet, Kavitar Kikasimhaya Kalyana Gunashaline, because he was so amazing that he was called the lion among the poet. It is said that Garuda saved his life as well from snakes. So because he was so good that people didn't like him, so they sent him some snake to kill him, and Garuda himself came and killed all the snake, and everybody was very struck. He also composed this verse that everybody is chanting very often: Jnana Nandamayan Devam Nirmalas Patika Kritim, etc. So if you want, you can go there and read it. And he created the Parakalamata at the end of his life, where the next one was one of the chief. Okay, and he did that because in the old institution, it was only politically, it became only a political place, like very, very spiritual place became actually political place. And so he created this at the end of his life to revive the teaching. And so Sri Ranganatha Brahma Swatantra Parakalaswami was one of the chief there. And actually, he is the one who initiated Krishnamacharya into what is called Bharanyasam, which is one of the highest ritual in the tradition. And basically, what I know about it is that this ritual is about accepting the to be taken in charge by God, and so we don't have the burden of the life in our shoulder anymore. So we trust, we surrender so much about God that actually we are quite relaxed. And I think it's the real meaning of Ishvara Pranidhana, because we always say that Ishvara Pranidhana is to be relaxed, but you can only be relaxed if you give your burden to somebody else. So the lineage is to be continued today. So you can still go in that place. If you go respectfully, maybe you can go. I said mantra siddhi because all the acharya I speak about are mantra siddhi, which means that their word is very powerful. When they say something, it will happen. They don't speak too much. And there is a very funny story that some Christian theologian came to see him, and actually he showed him the light, and the theologian became like a bit weird after, because it's like if he saw God himself. So it's a very interesting story. So Sri Krishnamacharya, I wrote a lot about him, and we should spend 2 weeks or 2 months to speak about the life of him. And I think we should spend many lives only to understand his work. But if we have to honor Sir, we have to speak a lot about Sri Krishnamacharya, because Sir was always speaking about Sri Krishnamacharya. So I will say, I will try to go until all this list, which is, he was called for the highest function in the Parakalamata, so which is like the Vatican, but in India. It's the same place than Vatican for the Westerners. So it's like he was called to become the Pope of the place, but he refused because he promised his teacher, his yoga teacher, he promised him to teach yoga and to raise family. Which I think it was not so easy for him to say no, but actually he did. And because of that, we are here today. Only because of that, we are here today to speak about him. So thank you. And so, he had so many qualifications. It's not even possible to know all of this, but he was a Vidvan, which is very high level of knowledge, but it was not enough. He became teacher. He was knowledgeable in grammar, in Sanskrit, in Sankhya. He was called the Veda Kesari, which is also a lion of the Vedas, like we spoke about the lion among the poets for Vedānta Desika. He was a specialist on Mimamsa. I think I miss a long A here, so sorry for this. He was really what is an Antevasin should be. An Antevasin is described in the Upanishad, and an Antevasin is the one who really studied until the end. So he's not going to say at the middle of the studies, so I'm okay, I know enough, bye-bye, I will do my best, thank you for everything. No, he will continue until the end, which is so rare actually. He was a specialist on Ayurveda, which even nowadays we find some recipe that he made about some medication and all that, and it's very difficult to understand. He was an expert in astrology. There is that very nice story that somebody said that he was a Pisces, and he said, no, you are a lion. And then actually everybody realized that the date of birth was wrong. And so you could not fool that guy. He was an expert in music, in languages. He went to learn in 7 years and a half in Kailash. I don't know if you realize what it means to be there without a heater, without I don't know if you can realize what it should be. With his teacher, which is Rama Mohana Brahmachari, he was initiated by 3 of the highest spiritual leaders at this time, like we saw just before, Ranganatha, Parakalaswami. He was an expert in Vedas, in Vedangas, in Darshanas, in Upavedas. He revived the Yoga Sutra because he had a dream that he should go in Namalvar place And there he actually fall asleep, and he saw Näthamuni, who taught him all the Yoga Rahasya that he remembered by heart, and then he wrote it. And only because of this, we have the Yoga Rahasya today. He was teaching, he brought together different kind of teachings like Hatha Yoga, Chikitsa, and spirituality, so that Viniyoga is so amazing, so difficult to study, because there are so many tools, so many things together. He opened the teaching on women, and he even taught Indra Devi, who is a foreigner. So it's really something, and because women were much more interested than men by the Vedas, and it is still the case nowadays. He's the father of modern yoga. We don't know if he was not there, if yoga would have been brought to the light, because he brought yoga to the light in the whole world through Desikacharya and some other student. He made also himself some commentaries on Brahma Sutra, Yoga Sutra. He wrote many poems that you should read, like Yoganjali Saram, Dhyana Malika. He actually stopped his heartbeat for a few times, and he was known for his healing power. Actually, he was such a beautiful. He could read the pulse on everybody. So it would not be fair if I would not show his wife, Namagiriamma, because behind every man there is a greater woman. Śri TKV Desikachar, which is called from Vedānta Desika. Not many people know, but Desha or Desika means the one who will show you the way. So he actually showed the way to the whole world for the yoga, which is so amazing. There is this connection that Ruth spoke about New Zealand, that he began his journey in yoga because there was a lady from New Zealand who was so happy to be able to sleep because of the teaching of Krishnamacharya, that she came and she hugged Krishnamacharya. And Desikachar said, I never saw my both parents touching each other, so how can a stranger come and hug him? So he was so struck by this that he committed in the yoga learning. He learned with it for more than 30 years, maybe 35, I don't know exactly. So I just want you to hear some of the things that he learned with Krishnamacharya. So Yoga Vali, Chitta Tattva Mimamsa, Yoga Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Yoga Yajnavalkya, Yoga Rahasya, Geranda Samhita, Shiva Samhita, Charaka Samhita, Sankhya Karika, Rahasya Trayasara, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Panini Shiksha. Like if you see that Mahabharata is 100,000 verses, you can see that it was not nothing, it was something. He traveled in the whole world to bring yoga, and like Kausthub said, he brought many bridges between tradition. He taught some people like Krishnamurti or Gerard Blitz, who was the founder of the European Union of Yoga, or of the Club Mediterranean, which is very much known in the West. He was the founder of KYM in 1976 and of KHYF, which is International Vocation on KHYF in 2006. He was the inventor of the stick finger, like we said before, with a beautiful book, which is called the Smith Book. Very nice. He compiled many archives on his work with Krishnamacharya. He wrote many books like Heart of Yoga, and published many classical books like Yoga Yajnavalkya, Yoga Rahasya, this kind of things, which is amazing because it gives us the opportunity to study this and to have access to this very, very secret and old teaching. It is said that he could always adapt himself to the student. He could read the pulse like nobody. He did not, even though he had so many capacities, he did not consider himself as the best. He considered himself only as a postman who had to bring yoga from one generation to the other generation. Also, I want to say that he actually saved my life, because I had some problem with my heart, and he took my pulse, and I felt that he could go inside of me, remove some darkness, and get out, which is something that you will believe or you will not believe, but it's a fact. So I also want to say that, and this is a link with Yamunācārya that we just saw before, and Ruth and Evelyn and Kausthub are there to testify that everybody speak about his death, but actually when he died, he put his hand together in a namaste sign, saying that even in that time, he was surrendering to the divine and to the light into everybody of us, which was alleviating a lot of suffering of many people. So even when dying, he gave so much of teaching. Also, we should honor Madame Menaka Desikachar, which has always been behind, and if you can listen her chanting, you will see that it's something. So we have to speak about the future as well. So and I think I will have the time to see all, which is Kausthub Desikachar, who was born on the 5th July 1975, and we are so lucky because we need somebody to hold the light. Yoga is not something we can do without somebody holding the light, and the light is not, I think, so easy to hold. So thank you for him for doing this. So he began to practice. I don't know if you can imagine it, but he began to practice when he was 9, and he began to teach when he was 13 under the guidance of Desikachar himself. So I don't know if you can understand what it can bring to somebody. So he studied, I think, I'm sorry if I'm not accurate here, about 25 years with his father. He wrote many, many books, and I don't know if you can see when he writes, because I translate him sometimes, and it's so difficult to translate because his writing is so accurate, so clear, and so rich. So he wrote many books on the sutras, Yogasūtra, that you have to read it because it will make it very clear, which is the opposite of what people are doing. People always want to show that they're very intelligent, so they don't make it clear, but actually it can be clear. He wrote the Yoga of the Yogi. He wrote the Vedic Chant Companion. He wrote Master in Focus, which is so many beautiful pictures of all the Master of Yoga. He wrote the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is the best book of Hatha Yoga, which also will make it very clear, very accessible. He's also writing so many beautiful poems, like he wrote Footsteps to the Heart and so many other poems that you can see he's publishing it on the net. He received the Padukas of the tradition, so which means that Desikachar knew that he was legitimate to do this work, so he gave him the sandal, which means that he is actually the light holder of the tradition. Which is a fact. He traveled in the whole world, and I hope he will resume his travel soon, for actually 20 years. And the list of the countries where he went is so amazing. It's so amazing. It's like so many countries. He's so amazing in therapy. I saw him healing people that doctor have given up, psychiatrists have given up, psychologue have given up. It's so amazing. The way he's teaching philosophy is so beautiful, so clear. Like if I understand something about the sutra, it's only because I have listened to him. Because before I thought I understood, but actually no. He teaches thousands of students when he travels around the world. He is able to address sickness that nobody understands, which I already said, and he reads the pulse like nobody. Like he takes the pulse and he asks questions to people, and suddenly they begin to cry because he touched the point. He always said that the best will come, so we really look forward to this. He has an amazing ability to work. I never saw somebody committed to his work like him, I never saw somebody which was working so much. And he has an amazing ability to hold. With few sentences, he can hold you, he can change your mood so that you are ready yourself to teach, which is so amazing. Also, I have to say, he's so funny. If you go to a restaurant with him, you will laugh a lot. So he created the KHYF in 2006 with his father to spread Viniyoga in the whole world. And also he created KHYF International with Evelyn and another student to actually give some inspiration in the Viniyoga world. And this will come, I think, later. So I also want to share a little bit about why Viniyoga is pertinent to the future. First and foremost, there is the KHYF International, Viniyoga Singapore, and some other affiliated school that are there to teach the best of the Viniyoga possible for them at this moment. And all of them, they have a lot of, how to say, it's not that they have the right to teach, but more of that, they have the obligation to study, which is quite good. Actually, we are in a time of Kali Yuga, which means that our ethical standards are getting down more and more, and it's very difficult to find some light in that special time. So I feel that Viniyoga will make us able to be in touch with our inner light, which is called in Sanskrit Atma Tushti, with that you will be able to find answer in your own light. But please take care, my dear Westerners. Your own light is not your own mind, because I know it's very difficult for Westerner to differentiate both. So Viniyoga is about heart of yoga, like the book of that Sir wrote, which is about health. Because if you practice Viniyoga every day under the guidance of, under the practice of a teacher, your health will definitely improve. It's about heal. It's about the health also in a holistic way, because all your life will improve, and also it's about what is beyond, which is the light of the tradition, the light in your heart. Okay, so it's very, very important. Also, I feel something which is very, very important nowadays. It's about learning how to let go of things and to surrender to something else, to accept that we have to accept that life is not always going the way we think it should, go. So I hope you understood that Viniyoga is about light, and that this light is coming from from a very, very long time, and that we are quite lucky to be able to study in such tradition, which is not something very short in time, who has crossed the time. And you can see so many acharyas, they had good time in their life, but they also had very, very bad time in their life, and still they were holding the light for us. And so I hope that you will practice with kind of humility. And that's why I want to say namaste to all the sincere Viniyoga seekers around the world. And thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to speak about these great masters. Yes. Namaste.
Namaste, Philip. You finished exactly on the spot, 4:15:00 seconds India time. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Philip, for your wonderful presentation. I hope that people will realize the depth of the Viniyoga tradition. And thank you for sharing so many nice and wonderful stories about many of these great masters. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you.
Namaste.